Hello, everybody. Robert Aducci here, and I am here with Leamon Crafton. Welcome, Leamon.
Hello, everybody.
And the ghost of Tim Brown. Tim should be joining us shortly, but he is not here at the moment. But when he joins, we'll kind of figure out the video and get that all settled. But good morning, everybody. Today is February February 4th. This is episode 27 of Ulysses World. So we're going to talk about all things Ulysses. Welcome to folks in the chat. Padre Suginto. Hey, good morning. SF Heath, good morning. So let's talk about Ulysses Online Con Monthly. So we just finished that last weekend. We had our best turnout so far as number of players and GMs. So that all went really well. The next Ulysses Con Monthly for this month is going to be February 26th through 28th. So be on the lookout for that. Put that on your calendar. Friday is when we usually do the panels for that, and we're gonna try to have a few this month, and then we have games all throughout the weekend. So if you want. If you want to be a GM and want to run some games for us, we would love for you to run, Fading Suns, Torg, Dark Eye, any of our games. You can sign up on the Google form, which I'll put in the chat right now. You can also go to the website and see the webpage for it. And then if you're a player and you want to play, you can register now, even though there's no games yet on there for this month, but you can register, and then that way when they come up, you'll be able to sign up. And I have a special announcement that this month, John Watson is going to be running an unreleased adventure called Dr. Y and the Jiangxi in 2 parts. So he'll be running that, I think, both on Saturday. So we're going to work on the details on how folks can sign up for that, because we don't want to just give it a general sign up, because it'll, just the fastest people will get it. So we're probably going to do some sort of raffle or giveaway or something. So definitely be on the lookout for that. And moving along, talking about Aventuria. So the pallets have arrived from at Studio 2 for the Aventuria expansions that are going to be in the next crowdfunding, and we've sent those out to the reviewers, and they'll be reviewing them, and we'll have a couple of hopefully nice reviews during the crowdfunding. And let's see, there's a question here. Suginto asks, as a German with English-speaking friends, do you know if there are any plans to translate the Cats and Dogs spin-off for the Dark Eye? So there's for folks that don't know, there is a Dark Eye version called the Schwarze Katze, which is the Dark Cat. So it's basically the Dark Eye, but with animals. And there's currently a crowdfunding that is in German that is for cats and dogs. It looks really cool. The art looks really great. And so, yes, eventually I think we would do the Cats and Dogs spinoff. But before we get to that, we'd have to do the Black Cat in and of itself, because it's its own kind of rule set. And so at some point, I think that is in our plans, but we do not have any hard dates for that. So we would love to see that stuff. We know people like those anthropomorphic animals. So speaking about the Dark Eye, so we had WebDM plays running through Adventures in Aventuria, which was a 12-episode campaign where Susanna Grace ran the group, several WebDM plays, main folks as well as some other folks playing through this 12-episode series. So you can catch all of that on YouTube now, and they're they really like doing that, and we're having a great time collaborating with them on all of our games. So they'll be doing more Torg, more Fading Suns, and more Dark Eye, I'm sure, at some point. Moving right along, so Eric recently posted a couple of updates for Myth Dawn of Heroes. Actually, just the Myth Journeyman at the time, but it's going to become the Dawn of Heroes. But he updated the crowdfunding and showed some of the molds that we have for the Journeyman miniatures, some of which we have to show you now. So if you did not see that, we're going to flash them up on the screen here. So here are some of them. There are a bunch. So I'm just going to kind of put them up here, and we'll just kind of look at them. As you can see, a lot of these are just sort of like the proofs. there's a nice one of this is like about half of the ones we have. I'll show you the rest here in a moment. But as you can see, there's some big miniatures, and we've got some close-ups here as well. So here's some more. There's the Kraken. That's pretty awesome looking. This is another big boss monster. Pretty cool dragon-looking thing. I forget what he's called. This image is pretty cool. It's got a bunch of individual. Kind of take it from the side. So lots of molds. A lot of these are the journeyman stuff that we had trouble getting the mold, trouble getting this and that, and so it's been quite an experience getting all these together. I can only just even from just kind of seeing all the work that Eric and Tim have been doing to kind of get all these to the backers. It's been pretty monumental, and hopefully it'll come out really well. So a lot of cool minis. All right. Moving right along here. So Myth Tales of Legend, which is the role-playing game side of the Myth IP. Ross has finished revamping the Quick Start and the Lost Barrow. It's ready for print with a new cover image, logo, and layout. You can still get the original version for pay what you want on DriveThruRPG, and I will post that link in the show notes and in the chat right now. Let's see. So Ginto also says, "Oh, cool! Thanks a bunch. I already got the Black Cat in German. Looking forward to the new add-on." Yeah, talking about the Black Cat. Yeah, I have the book for that. Obviously, can't read German, but I have the Black Cat book, and it has a really nice, at least the version that I have. I don't know if they all have this, but has this really nice, almost velvet cover. It's black. It's not quite velvet. It's kind of like like when velvet, like when you run your hand over it, kind of has that feeling. It's kind of like that. It's interesting. It's a very interesting cover for a book, kind of like I guess cat fur. But moving along, let's see, Fading Sun. So the Wave 1 books are at the printer now, and we expect them in our German warehouse in mid-February. Then they'll be picked and packed, we're hoping, in late February, and then they'll be put on a boat to the U.S., hopefully arriving by mid-March, and we're aiming to have those books arrive in the backers' hands by mid-April. So mid-April is our current date for Fading Suns. So if you're a backer of that, be on the lookout for that. Today, Bill Bridges and Andrew Greenberg will be doing their Heretical Musings stream. That is now the first and third Thursdays of the month, and so we're going to have one of those today at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Today they'll be talking about campaign ideas, running Fading Suns for new GMs. So if you are thinking about running that, definitely check it out. And of course, JM and the crew of the Oh Boy stream every other Thursday at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time, and are scheduled for next week, I believe. Let's get on to Torg Eternity, which is why Leamon is here. So currently there is a crowdfunding, in case you guys have missed it, there's a crowdfunding for Torg Eternity Orrorsh, which is the horror cosm for Orrorsh, and that is live on Game On Tabletop. We smashed our funding goal within 30 minutes on day one, and we're nearly to 126,000. And the next stretch goal is 140,000 for digital-only spell cards for the new Cosm. So, Leamon, what kind of content have you contributed to Orrorsh?
To Orrorsh, I first started off with the Nightmare Generator, which is an interesting thing. In a lot of the books, there is kind of an adventure generator, but we knew that game masters might want some more content about how to make nightmares and what the different things to seek them out, what knowledges need to be known about them. So I created that. I also created a couple of the archetypes, the Resourceful Alchemist and the Sakellum Priest, as well as doing Sakellum Miracles and a few perks to go with the Sakellum Priest, kind of a chaplain that they get sent in with the military and use their miracles to kind of bolster the Victorian society. And then I am also doing one of the Delphi Council missions.
Cool. So you mentioned this nightmare generator. What are the nightmares exactly?
The nightmares are like the most powerful of threats under the Gaunt Man. So when the Gaunt Man takes a liking to a particular villain, he will give them powers, and they're not easy to be killed. And if they're killed, they will basically come back at some time, depending on when the Gaunt Man wants them to come back. And the nightmares get refreshing possibilities, and that's what makes them so difficult. And the refreshing of those possibilities is tied to something that happened that made them a nightmare. So the Storm Knights have to find out those pieces of information and confront the nightmare with them, and then those possibilities or those links, then each link will drop a refresh. So I think that's a really cool system to. So you don't have to discover everything, but the more you discover, the easier the end confrontation with them will be.
Nice. That sounds really cool. Let's see. Padre asks, this must be a question I would assume from Otorg, but let's see if you know the answer. It says, will the possessed DVD player be in the book?
I'm not sure because I haven't. It would have to be a Orrorsh, probably Pan Pacifica, and I'm not dealing with that, so that would be somebody else.
All right. Do you know what that's about? I'm not familiar with that.
There were Old Torg had a bunch of crazy things like a video, like I think in Tharcold, a video would kind of take your mind and mess it up, and there was the like VCR or VHS cassette of death in the machine.
That sounds awesome. Maybe to update it, we would just need like a website of death or something.
Right. the streaming channel.
Right. The Twitch channel of death. All right. Nice. Let's see. PK Levine asks, is the Nightmare Generator going to be part of the source book in the back of a Trifling Matter, or its own PDF, or what?
It's, as far as I know, it's supposed to be part of the main source book.
Okay.
So just like Isle had the magic item charts and everything right in the source book, the Nightmare Generator, as far as I know, is going to be in the source book.
Nice. So you said you created the Resourceful Alchemist archetype. I watched your stream on that. That was really cool to see how you walk through that. Tell us about that a bit.
It's just, I don't know how the other creators do it, but when I first got the chance to make an archetype, I'm like, I know this has to fit a certain, layout. Mm-hmm. And when I do it on myself, I can be as long or as short as I want to. Right. But on that, I decided that I found another archetype and just copy pasted it, and then kind of did it from what my word count needed to be. And then I like trying to think of what is interesting for the character artwork that I'm looking at. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of times I might not make something absolutely min-maxed, perfectly, but I want something that's interesting and has a nice background, so that if you're holding those, if you go to a con and you have a pickup group or even a big group, and you want something to catch people's eyes, and when they read it, they kind of get a backstory and can dive right into the game. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really like how the Torg archetypes have not only kind of have details about them, but also like how they advance too. And so like even for a new player, if you play a couple sessions with them, you can advance them, which I think is pretty cool. Let's see. PK Levine says, are we going to see a new alchemist potions and bulletsmith bullet types?
I guess I could say yes, because I showed that in the Resourceful Alchemist. There were, I think there was an extra potion that I described.
Nice.
So I'll just say Alchemist and Bulletsmiths should be happy.
Nice. And I know a lot of people ask, about that Alchemist, about her arm, and like, are there new like steampunk biomechanical things, or what's going on with that?
The steampunk aspect, from what I've seen in Orrorsh, is more of functionality. I lost my arm, I need an arm. So I get this magical steampunk arm, or I lost my leg, I get a magical steampunk leg. It's not something necessarily better like a cyber papacy piece of cyberware or Tharkold occult tech will do extra stuff, but it's to keep you so that you can continue to function.
Gotcha. Nice. You also talked about the Sakellum. What can you tell us about them?
The Sakellum is, if what I've written and turned in is the final, because everything gets tweaked up to the end, but it's a little bit different than Old Torg. Each of the Cosmverses out there are different, so I wanted to put something a little different into it, but it kind of keeps that core of it. It was some type of Christianity that the Gaunt Man got involved with. So it gets corrupted, and people, the priests and the chaplains, can have absolutely good intentions, but the way that things that they see as kind of the core tenets are things that are a little corrupted, and over a long time is going to kind of bring it down from within.
So what kind of perks and miracles do they have access to?
A lot of the perks are kind of old Testament type things, plagues of locusts, turning people into salt pillars, like Lot's wife, a sins of the flesh, which is kind of a plague that could affect people, like a hellfire. I know there is an actual hellfire miracle, but there is kind of a different thing that kind of brings up another type of hellfire and stuff. So
nice. And you mentioned that you wrote one of the Delphi missions. Can you give us the elevator pitch for that?
Basically, it's a cross-cultural Delphi mission. So it's not just India. It's not just Orrorsh, Gaia. There's a place kind of in Pakistan, the Punjab region, that's had a lot of really important battles in history, and some of those are going to be presented in it.
Nice. And if anybody is in the chat, you guys have been asking questions. Continue on with that. So if you have any questions for Leamon about Orrorsh, any of the things that he's talked to, or maybe anything you want to ask him about original Torg Orrorsh, let us know as well. So what's your favorite thing that was brought from OTorg to that continued to be in Orrorsh?
I love the idea of the threats being individual. So if you're in, say, Isle, the high fantasy realm, vampires are vampires. If you know a vampire, pretty much vampires are going to be, weak to sunlight and stakes through the heart, that type of thing. Orrorsh, your vampires are each going to be individual, especially if they're nightmares and they have their own origins. So I really like the idea. I liked it in Old Torg that you couldn't just find out it's a vampire and automatically know how to defeat it. You had to figure out things. And that's going to be in Orrorsh in Torg Eternity as well.
Nice. Let's see. SF Heath asks, sorry if I missed the answer to this. Is there going to be a reboot of the Victorians from OTorg?
The Victorians will play a part. They have, and they will.
What do you think? What's changed from OTorg to the current iteration for the Victorians?
I think I can say it because Greg mentioned it last time. So basically, Old Torg, the Victorians were still on Gaia and were, they were helping out on Earth, but they still had a home to go back to. And that's kind of not quite the same in Torg Eternity.
Okay, yeah. Nice. Grey March asks, any word on occult rituals?
Occult rituals are being worked on. That's one of the things I think a lot of us creators are. We're like, hey, include this. Make sure you include this. I like this idea. Include this. So it's almost like a lot of hands in the cookie jar at the same time. But I think they'll work out really well.
Cool. What do you think? Has there been something that's new, for Torg Eternity for Orrorsh that wasn't in the original Torg that you're excited for people to see?
like I said, I really love the idea of the refreshing possibilities because that wasn't a thing that I really remember besides maybe High Lords having. The finding out the links to the nightmares and that will reduce the refresh rate. In Old Torg, their perseverance system was you had to do the research and stuff, but anytime you were kind of frightened by what was going on, the game master got points, and then the game master had to spend time looking up, this thing costs this many points, and here's a bad thing for the player, and this thing costs this many bad points, and this is for a player.
Mm-hmm.
I love the streamlining of you're finding out what the nightmares, the history, so that you can defeat them, but it's not the game master having a bunch of points and then trying to divvy them amongst the storm knights. Mm-hmm. It is part of the refresh rate, so the more things you learn, the easier it will be for the storm knights, and it's all really nice and flows well instead of this extra step of passing out bad things.
Nice. Yeah, that's cool. It seems like it'll run a little smoother. So what was something that like if you're gonna run if you're gonna run Orrorsh, what is something that you want to highlight? Obviously, it's the horror realm, but like what's something that you want to make sure that your players kind of feel being there?
Dread. Even if they come up with it in their own mind. And that's something I've used as a game master successfully, is instead of describing something in minute detail, I work, my day job as a criminalist. I work in a crime lab. I see horrible things all the time, but that doesn't mean that somebody else can't think of something worse than me. But if I'm vague, then each person is going to come up with that bad thing, kind of the details in their own mind. And that's going to bring that dread, because I won't go too far, but then again, some people might say that I'm not going far enough. So let each person kind of come up with that thing and get that dread in their head themselves.
All right. Let's see. Dave Haynes asked, do you know anything about the reanimated man archetype?
I do not know anything about that.
All right. So aside from there's the large adventure and the Delphi missions, or I shouldn't say aside from, but like with those, sort of like what's the I guess aside from the large adventure, so with the Delphi missions, you can only do sort of like horror so much. Like there's got to be some sort of like levity at other times. So how do you think that kind of works with the Delphi missions? If you wanted to run a bunch of adventures in Orrorsh, without it being too sort of overbearing.
You can always have the core Earth realms that are next to the Orrorsh realms. So Orrorsh threats don't have to stay in the realm. They can cross realms, just like you have Nile shock troopers who are constantly appearing in the living land trying to figure out the wonders and things like that. There can be threats from Orrorsh that go elsewhere. So a lot of I won't say a lot, but there's more than a couple of either Delphi missions or part of mega adventures out there that have like nightmare trees and things like that. So Orrorsh will come to you if you don't come to it.
Nice. That's awesome. So one of the cool things about this crowdfunding is that Greg Gordon is going to do an online game that previously they have kind of done them at Gen Con, but since we're not sure exactly what's going on with Gen Con yet, it doesn't look like that's going to happen this year, and so in order to kind of continue that, we're going to have 5 lucky backers that are going to be randomly selected to play a game streamed live with Greg on the Ulysses International Twitch channel at the end of the campaign. We'll be drawing names from participating backers throughout the campaign. So if you pledge early, you can get as many, we've already given out 3 of them, but there's still 2 more opportunities to get one of those seats. So if you pledge at any level, you can just add the free add-on to be considered part of it. So we've had 3 winners so far, and I'm going to throw up the image of that real quick. Let's see. I've got that somewhere. Where did that go? Greg's game. There we go. So right now we've had Gareth Anderson, Eric Kalkbrenner, and Douglas Jessup chosen to play in a game with Greg, and we'll have the next one on next Tuesday, and then at the end of the campaign we'll have the final one drawn. So if you would like to participate in that and kind of change the face of Torg Eternity, make sure you add that add-on to your pledge.
They will be in for a big treat.
Nice. And you'll also need access to Roll20 and Discord, but both of those are free for players, so definitely check that out. Let's see what else. Streams. So our last UlyssesCon monthly panels are on YouTube. You can listen to the designers talk about Orrorsh, as well as some general tour questions from the community. In addition, the Horsemen are streaming every Tuesday at 5:30. Sorry, every other Tuesday at 5:30 on Twitch, followed by the upload to YouTube. Which that game is GM by J.M. DeFogie and features Ross Watchin, who's one of the Torg Eternity designers. Our WebDM collaboration, Reality Raiders 3, which is a 12-part series, it's kind of like an 80s action-packed Torg game, which was fantastic. I think that sort of premise surprised everybody and turned out really well. And so that just wrapped up, and you can find those on the WebDM YouTube channels. Now, in support of the crowdfunding, we're continuing to work with the WebDM, and we're sponsoring a new short series to honor Orrorsh, and it's going to be three episodes. So last Sunday was the first episode, and over the next 2 Sundays there will be 2 more episodes, and they all feature adventures from the Orrorsh Delphi Council's book. So if you liked, and that's got the same GM, Rudy Basso, who did Reality Raiders 3. And there's a couple of returning players, and then a couple of new players, and those players are, there's Salvo, who is Pruitt from WebDM. He's playing the same character, which was an American Gladiator, which is a great 1980s throwback thing. But the other players, I think, are playing new characters from the archetypes from Orrorsh. So we sent them the archetypes, and Grant, who is the producer and also one of the players, he does this like half-hour show at the beginning before the game actually starts, where he just kind of talks about the game and just talks about Torg Eternity and things like that. And last time, so if you want to get some sneak peeks, because last time he showed some of the archetypes, so he showed some that we have not shown yet. So if you want to go back to the WebDM YouTube channel, you can catch that in the first half hour. He flips through them. And finally, once again, I just want to talk about how, Leamon did that Resourceful Alchemist archetype as part of the character creation challenge. And have you done, did you do one every day last month? How did that work out for you?
I am still doing one every day. John Watson actually is the one who pulled me into the challenge. So nice. Today will be number 17. So I just got over the halfway mark.
Awesome. And you're doing these every day?
Yes, I'm doing them every day.
Nice. That's crazy, because I can only imagine, like 30 or whatever, however many you're doing. When you know a game, you can usually whip out a character pretty quickly. But sometimes when you don't know a game, you gotta like dig in, and it might take an hour or two.
Right. Even if it's something I knew, but that was 3 years ago. I'm
right?
like, what are the rules again?
Nice. What's the oldest game you've looked at that you've created a character?
The oldest game would be the BECME D&D, the basic D&D red box.
At least that one is easy to make a character.
Right. Yes.
There's not a whole lot of choices going on there.
There are some days where I'm like, I need something easy for today. So what am I gonna? It's just that too many of those have happened already.
Yeah. Nice. So let's see. There's a question. Guacamole says, as a backer of all but the first Torg campaigns, why didn't I get notice of a Orrorsh campaign? So you should have. So if you backed even the prior campaigns, you should have gotten an email from Game on Tabletop. So I've noticed, I've had somebody else say the same thing. you got to make sure that you go to Game on Tabletop, you go to your profile, and make sure that you select. There's a setting in there to make sure that you get emails from prior campaigns. So definitely go check and make sure, because I had somebody else ask the same question, and that setting was not set for them. So definitely go check that out. And Game on Tabletop is a European company. I think they're French. And so as a result, a lot of their default settings are going to be, the more, to allow people more privacy. And so some of those things might be turned off. So definitely go check that out and make sure those settings are right for you. Let's see. Coral Boo says Victorian era had many cool science, pseudoscience, spiritualism matters like galvanism, mesmerism, or seance. Would Orrorsh have any new quasi supernatural powers like that available to Storm Knights?
That's being talked about and hammered out, so we'll have to see which make it through.
Nice. Padre says I'd have to work to find 31 RPGs to do. You think so, but there are so many out there, and especially nowadays, it's relatively, quote unquote, relatively easy for people to publish stuff, and so there are so many, even just like 1-page RPGs. Like there's just so many out there. It's quite amazing. Let's see. Dave says try to follow Torg Eternity or Ulisses on Facebook. Yeah, that's definitely another way, Dave. So Guacamole, if you're following us on social media, you'll definitely see those announcements. But again, on Game on Tabletop, that is probably the best way to make sure, because once we launch those, if you're following us there, you'll get those notifications. Also, if you go to the website, we have and on Facebook, a mailing list you can sign up to, and we announced it there too. So definitely some ways to figure out what we're doing, hopefully.
And check your spam folder.
Yeah, he said he checked his spam folder.
Okay. Because I've had it.
Okay.
Myself, where I will tell it not to go to spam, and then I'll get notifications, and then somehow it switches off and it starts going back into spam. So.
Yeah. Definitely. Technology, it's wonderful until it's not.
Exactly.
All right. Well, do we have any last minute questions for Leamon here? Leamon, in your, since you've been working with Ulisses, what's, I know it's this is sort of a difficult question, because a lot of times you get like what's your most favorite thing? Well, usually the last thing you worked on is probably one of your most favorite things. So just what are some of the things you've really enjoyed writing for Torg?
Just the Tharkold. I had to get out of that realm for a while, because for I want to say at least a year to a year and a half, that's all that was on my mind, and that's a nasty realm to be with. But that's kind of what got me in, and I do know quite a bit about Russia and Ukraine and stuff like that. So being able to take my real world knowledge and putting it into the adventure, and that was my start, kind of working with this great company. And it's just like anything that I can do, just give it to me, and I'll try to do something with it.
Nice, yeah. Tharkold was really the first kind of crowdfunding for Torg that I really worked on, and I really liked it. Like, I love the whole Mad Max aspect of it, and the demons and the techno demon. Like, it's just cool. Like, yeah, I really like that setting as well. Let's see. Coral Boo says, I'm interested how you make Torg Eternity characters or unofficial archetypes in compliance with the rules like other players do. No, like, and then he's got, hold on, parentheses, no, I'm the creator, I get what I want things. Like, so like, how do you make sure that you're in compliance with kind of regular character rules, I guess, when you're making archetypes?
I will say with the archetype, that resourceful alchemist was the only one that I, in any way, shape, or form, bent or broke a rule, and that was because the artwork had a mechanical arm, and there was no way to say, okay, here's the archetype, what about this mechanical arm? So I had to do that. If you want it to follow the rules of the book, have it damaged, because it takes $1,000 to repair it. So just start off with it damaged if you want to follow the rules. Once you get the source book, you'll be able to see that. But that was something that the art piece was already done, and it can't be changed. I have to make an archetype for that art piece. It has a mechanical arm. I have to give it a mechanical arm.
That makes sense. So other than that though, like with your other archetypes that you've created, you pretty much create them by the book for a
Pretty
starting
much
character.
so. Like I look at it and you get X amount of money, 2 perks. We try to make sure that the requirements for the perks are there. Now things do change. So Tharkold, a lot of things was getting tweaked until the very end. So certain archetypes had to be changed a few times. But the time that I made it and submitted it, those were the current rules. Sometimes things change, and that's where you might get somebody who has a lower charisma has a perk that you need a higher charisma, and that's probably something got changed. Mm-hmm. And it's not intentional on the creators. It's just we have a set of rules, and if the rules change, then they might not. They might get overlooked, the update. So.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Let's see. Ming Worsen asks, any plans for Roll20 adventures? And I can definitely answer that. Yes, we are working on Roll20 Foundry. I know there's been some movement on Foundry. Matt Ritchie ran some. So he ran a Torg Eternity Foundry game. He's the one working on the Foundry stuff for us, and he ran it for UlyssesCon Online. I think this month he's going to run another one, but he's going to stream this next one. So if you want to see what Torg Eternity looks like on Foundry, you can sign up for the game, or you can watch his stream. I think he's going to stream it, so that'll be pretty cool. Let's see. He says, I still have to figure out my Orrorsh backer archetype. Yes, please do, because one of the things that the designers, struggle with sometimes is getting that feedback. So, you guys have an opportunity to kind of work with the designers to make a cool archetype. So definitely use that opportunity and don't just try to like turn it in last minute. You can, have some back and forth with them, which I think is cool. Let's see. PK Levine says, not sure I get this. If you want to make them compliant with existing rules, just use official stuff in the books. Yeah. So he's talking about the archetypes. And I think the question really was before about them, about like, if they did make them official, or they were just sort of making them like how they wanted them. But it sounds like, you guys are doing it sort of like by the book, basically. Let's see. Nikina says, I started a character with Pain Acolytes +1, but the GM wouldn't allow it, so I had to start her without armor, and I hope she survived long enough to buy some. I'm not sure what that's referencing.
It might have been some extra gear or something, a little more than the budget.
Gotcha. Let's see. Yeah, so I think that's gonna be it for today. Thanks, Leamon, for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Let's see. Oh, PK Lamine says one of the archetypes has +1 Drime instead of the usual +2 Drime. I'm not sure what that is. Oh, is that for the Pain? Yeah, I'm not sure. Let's see. He says, just talking about the archetype. Oh, it's a gear. Gotcha. Guacamole says, how do you think about characters switching between realms? Is any special tips?
As in moving or transforming?
Yeah, good question.
If it's transforming, at least my players love it. There's the rule that if you disconnect and then you have a mishap trying to reconnect, you can either lose a add of reality or transform. I've never had anybody lose reality. My players love transforming, and then they usually try to keep a similar concept. Like if they're a melee character that uses swords, well, now they're a different melee character that uses swords, but choosing perks and everything can get swapped out. So it's, instead of making a whole new character, they just changed realms.
Nice. See, Guacamole says, I was thinking about moving, but anything. So moving between realms, like what is that like for you?
I guess it depends. If you want to make it something that they hit a reality storm and weird stuff happens, you can do that. I know a lot of the Delphi missions will specifically kind of avoid that and just have you arrive, because it's kind of more constrained on time. But
Mm-hmm.
as a game master, you can always add those little bits of information, just weird kind of things that happen, and it doesn't have to be the same every time, because you have a conflict of realities, and anything goes.
So what's an example? Because I do understand, like when you're writing the Delphi missions, and you're trying to write a shorter adventure, you don't want to, you can put too much description in there, and that makes things take longer. So, like, what are some things that you would suggest for if people are coming into Orrorsh? Like, what are some of those cool effects that would tell you you're entering Orrorsh?
If they were traveling through, I might have just say they're going on a bus or a train or something, and they have multiple people around them. Have a couple of wards transform in front of them, even if they don't. And maybe in Orrorsh, maybe you see a soul leave a body and go out a train window, or something weird like that to let you know that you are not in Core Earth any longer.
Nice. Let's see. He says, any chance of Torg miniatures for the next crowdfunding using your new toy at the office? Yeah, so He's talking about the Siocast machine. We've mentioned that in a few places. And so that is definitely something we have been talking about. We can't announce anything yet, but it's definitely top of our mind for sure. So you can, I think it's safe to say that you can probably expect some Torg miniatures in some fashion at some point in the near future. So, Gospag miniatures, yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah. So I think that's gonna call it for we're gonna call it for the day. Thanks for watching Ulisses World Show. If you'd like to chat more with Ulisses folks or other fans, check out our Discord community, and I'll put the chat in here, and we will of course be there if you want to chat more. And if you like the show, please follow and subscribe to our channels on Twitch and YouTube, and turn on those notifications so you don't miss anything. For Ulysses Spiel, I'm Robert Aducci, and this is Leamon Crafton. Thanks for watching. And of course, the ghost of Timothy Brown. Tim didn't quite make it; he was stuck in this other meeting, but we'll see if we get him next week. So come back next week, Thursday, February 11th at 9 a.m. Pacific, for more Ulysses World's news. Thanks again, Leamon.
Thank you.
All right, bye.